It's every child's worst nightmare. Waking up to find that the person they trust most in the world is gone, without a trace. Mary Johnson kissed her children goodnight and tucked them into bed just like every other night. But when morning came, she was gone. No note, no signs of struggle, just an empty house. 14 years later, the doorbell rings, and the stranger standing there carries a truth that will shatter everything the family thought they knew. It was a typical night in the Johnson household. Mary Johnson, a devoted mother of 2 young children, had just finished putting her kids to bed. Her daughter, Emily, aged 6, and her son, Max, 8 years old. It was an evening like any other, a quiet night in the sleepy town of Riverbend. She kissed them both on their foreheads and assured them they'd have a fun day at the park tomorrow. Little did they know, that would be the last time they'd see their mother. Mary had always been an attentive mother, protective and loving. She never missed a step in her nightly routine, ensuring everything was in place before she closed her eyes. But that night, she never returned to bed. When Emily and Max woke up, they found the house eerily quiet. Their mother was gone. No note, no sign of struggle, just an empty bed where she had been only hours before. At first, the authorities believed it was just another case of a woman who had left. Maybe she had walked out, had a moment of weakness. But as the hours turned into days, and the days into weeks, it became clear that something was horribly wrong. Mary had vanished without a trace, and nothing seemed to make sense. Detective Stephen Harris was called to investigate. He had worked on many missing persons cases, but something about this one was different. Mary Johnson had no known enemies. She was a kind-hearted woman with a stable life. There were no signs of violence or forced entry. The only thing that didn't add up was the suddenness of it all. Neighbors were interviewed, but no one had seen anything unusual. It was as if Mary had simply disappeared into thin air. The police combed through her phone records, her emails, her bank accounts, anything that could point them in the right direction. But there was nothing. No phone calls, no messages, no trace. For the children, the disappearance of their mother was beyond comprehension. Max had nightmares. Emily clung to her stuffed bear, asking when Mommy would be back. But the days turned into weeks, the weeks into months, and soon, the months into years. The investigation began to cold, and the case was eventually marked as unsolved. But to Emily and Max, their mother's disappearance was still a fresh wound. They never stopped hoping she would return. As the years passed, life went on. Emily and Max grew up, but they never forgot their mother. Max, now a teenager, joined sports teams and made friends. Emily, now a young woman, excelled in school but struggled with the pain of missing someone she could barely remember. They both carried the scars of that night, never truly healing from the loss. 14 years later, as Emily was scrolling through her social media feed, something caught her eye. A story about a woman who had been found living under a new identity. The article mentioned a stranger who had recently appeared in a small town, claiming to be someone's long-lost family member. The name sent a chill down Emily's spine. Mary Johnson. Emily immediately called her brother, her voice trembling as she read the headline aloud. "Mom?" Max asked, disbelief coloring his voice. It couldn't be true. They had heard rumors before, false leads that never panned out. But something about this felt different. The stranger standing at their door was a woman in her late 40s, dressed in simple clothes, her face lined with years of hardship. But as soon as Emily saw her, something clicked. The resemblance was undeniable. This was Mary, her mother, standing on their doorstep, alive after all these years. The woman spoke softly, her voice filled with sorrow. I'm sorry, Emily. So sorry for everything." It took only a moment for Emily to piece it all together. The woman before her was her mother, but she wasn't the same. She had a story to tell, one that would answer questions but raise even more. Mary had been forced into hiding. She had become entangled in a dangerous web of organized crime, the kind of danger that put her family's lives at risk. It wasn't until she saw a chance to escape that she decided to return, only to discover how much time had passed, and how much her children had grown. The truth was painful to hear. Mary had never meant to leave, but she had been pushed into a corner. For 14 years, she carried the weight of her choices on her shoulders, knowing that she had abandoned the 2 people she loved the most. And though her heart broke at the thought of what they had endured, she was ready to make things right. Though Mary's return didn't erase the years of pain, it was the first step toward healing. Emily and Max had to reconcile with the past, understand their mother's sacrifices, and embrace the woman who had returned to them after all these years. They visited their father's grave, a man they had lost when they were still too young to remember his face. There, they made peace with the past, understanding that sometimes life is more complicated than what we're told, and that forgiveness isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. Mary's return didn't erase the years of pain, but it brought the family back together, and for the first time in over a decade, they could finally begin the journey toward healing.